Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, on Wednesday accused the Democratic Party of largely ignoring the priorities of the working class and pointed to that as the biggest reason for why it lost control of the White House and Senate this week. It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class has abandoned them, Sanders said in a statement about the results of Tuesday's election. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right, he said. Sanders' blistering statement is the harshest and most pointed criticism of the Democratic leadership yet in the aftermath of the election, in which Vice President Harris appears to have lost the popular vote by nearly 5 million votes, and Democrats lost Senate seats in West Virginia, Montana, and Ohio, with more potentially on the way. Sanders, independent who caucuses with the Democrats, said, "Those of us concerned about the grassroots democracy and economic justice need to have some very serious political discussions." He cited the huge growth in economic inequality in America in recent decades, advanced technologies that threaten to put hundreds of thousands of people out of work, the high cost of healthcare, and U.S. support for the war in Gaza, which has killed tens of thousands of people. Will the big money interest and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political attention that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any idea as to how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic power? Sanders asked. Probably not, he continued in response to his own question. Sanders, the chair of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, was never able to get a vote this year on his proposal to raise the federal minimum wage from $7.25 per hour to $17 per hour by 2028. Sanders also failed in his effort as Senate Budget Chair in 2021 and 2022 to advance a $6 trillion budget reconciliation proposal to expand Medicare and address what he called a housing crisis. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer later negotiated a scaled down version of President Biden's Build Back Better agenda with centrist Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat at the time who has since left the party and become an independent, but it fell short of the big ambition Sanders and other progressives had at the start of Biden's term. Tensions between Sanders and Manchin erupted in October 2021 when Sanders blew up at the West Virginia centrist at a leadership meeting during which Manchin tried to put limits on what Democrats were trying to pass, ruling out tuition-free college. Sanders' response is notable for a few reasons. One, it's Bernie. Two, he was also up for re-election this year, and he won easily. But I think this will probably be his last term in the Senate, which will cause him to effectively be more open to just ribbing into the Democrats than he was before. Like, I have nothing to lose. I'm not running for anything ever again. To get into some of the substance of what was said here, I can agree with the Democratic Party. When it abandons working class people, it finds that the working class people in turn abandon the Democratic Party. When he mentions, they want change, these big money interests and well-paid consultants that control the party never learning their lesson and actually being receptive to the problems of regular working people. These are all things I can agree with, but I really, like I said, and I mentioned this in my reaction I did, I took away a lesson from 2016 that I just don't think applies anymore. Like, I agree with them in terms of the Democratic Party is crappy and the politicians that are in leadership are bad. All this money that they get funded to them, and then you see what good does it do you when you guys have lost the House, the Senate, the White House? Just what are you getting out of going and bootlicking for these donors and corporations when you could stand with the people and actually possibly win elections again? But the issue here is that with most progressives, they're always going to tell you the Democrats are not as bad as the Republican. And for a lot of people, seemingly for most people, that just wasn't enough. Um, you can't have an unpopular president have his vice president run, and throughout her entire campaign, she can't tell you what she's going to do differently from Biden. She can't tell you what she's going to change. Because again, what he said, people want change. But here's where we have our, like the disconnect. If they want change, if they want something different, I still cannot understand why they would go back to the same buffoon that they got rid of after one term not too many years ago. That is the part that I still am just like this on. And it's also sad to think about how, because the article mentions, right, it was Manchin that was screwing Sanders out of his tuition-free college proposal and roadblock to Build Back Better. And it's like, when you see a Democratic Party where the Democrats are more successful in messing themselves up than the Republicans, I think you have a problem. And I don't, we're about to enter a form of government we haven't had since 2017. I'm feeling so nostalgic already. Where you're going to have the Republicans controlling all three chambers. And you know what the Democrats are going to do? They're going to spend the next 700 days or 2 years, whatever, going, we would like to pass this, but we don't have enough seats. We would like to give you a higher minimum wage or an infrastructure bill or something climate related or some lowering of college, but we don't have enough seats in the House or the Senate. And then guess what's going to happen? They're going to have a midterm where it will go this way. If they get more seats to where they have a majority in either chamber or both chambers, they will say, "Oh, we don't have the White House, and President Trump is stopping us from being able to pass anything." It never stops. And this is because Sanders is, I always will believe, a decent person, one of the few decent people in American politics. But the mission of most politicians in our corporate dominated era is to cash in on the ignorance of the people that vote for them. They give these paid, they go and they run these campaigns, go out and talk about their opponent is whatever. And then when they're in office, they literally do not do anything except this and run for another term every 2 to 6 years. And I'm just tired of it. As much as I, again, thought that, I understood the I called it the national American voter. I don't. I will never get what possesses them to, because I explained this in my video, just like it doesn't, I still don't understand that it really has me just baffled. But yeah, I wonder what Sanders is going to do if we get stuck with another Democrat who, I have my disagreements with them, but they are better than the Republican. Well, just being quote unquote better than the Republican doesn't cut it. The truth is, Harris did not excite people. Think about this. Biden was able to get 80 million votes in 2020. And Trump really did not improve his actual share of votes. It was like, 70 million last time, 70 million this time. But then Harris only gets 66, 67 million? What happened? Where did those millions of people go? They sat this one out. They didn't feel like voting. They didn't want to vote. And until they're able to figure that one out, then I think we're going to be stuck in this same cycle because the Democrats get paid to lose. The truth of the matter is, whether Trump does whatever, the Obamas, the Clintons, Pelosi, Schumer, Jeffries, any of the people that are in a leadership position in that stupid party are all millionaires who are insulated from the consequences of what happens in these elections, and thus it's all just performative for them. You know, you put on your little suit and tie or your dress, and you give your stupid speech, and you collect your money, and then you run for office, you know, just again and again until you decide to retire, and then get a nice, you know, just coast off of doing nothing to actually solve anything. So I'm just sick of this damn party. I really am. People are sick of them, and it's like, what's the alternative here? Do I just say that, well, I guess it's hopeless, you know? Because like you're even if you get candidates that are good, you know, like Anina Turner, for example, the Democratic Party's machine that sure as hell cannot win general elections will try to snuff them out in the primary, and that makes it to where I just don't know what else we can do.